I say that is the main foundation. So come let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, and let us build a nation together. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Remember, the key to success is working hard.
Yes, indeed. Remember, the key to success is working hard, but not only working hard, but working smart. And I think that is the message. So we must work hard, but we must also work smarter. Whatever we are doing, we must understand we are no longer in 1310, right? Everything around us right now is smart. Even our children, they are way smarter than how we were. They are more tech savvy. So it's not only working harder, but working smarter. I want to welcome you to the Dynamic Hour and specifically this segment. And I want to encourage those on Facebook and YouTube to please share the live. Sharing is caring. When you do, you give your friends, your colleagues, the opportunity to be a part of the conversation, to be a part of the audience. I want to start off in a real sense or a real way to endorse what our beloved Prime Minister said at the Parliament. And that stood out to me when he said the NNP constantly out there saying, well, the NDC said they met a pregnant Treasury. And our beloved Prime Minister went on to say, it comes across from the NNP standpoint as though they regret leaving money back there, right, in the Treasury, or government having some money to do things, to pay salaries, to meet commitments. That is how it comes across. It comes across as though they're angry, they're upset, because historically, the NNP will just spend everything. They would waste everything and make it very difficult for the government who will come or to come. We have seen that happen. We saw that happen in 2008, in 2008, when the NDC came into power. It was starting from scratch. Starting from scratch. Because the NNP always would make it difficult for the next government. So if they sense that they're going to lose, they will just spend everything recklessly. And that is why over and over again, they speak about the NDC meeting a pregnant Treasury when they got into office. And it is now coming across as though they vex, the NNP vex, that they had money left back in the Treasury and the NDC came in and they had the opportunity to just continue with government. But that is how it's supposed to be. That is exactly how it's supposed to be, because government is a continuum. You're in power, You must lay a solid foundation for the next team or people who will assume power in the country. So you can't be reckless. You have to understand that when the next party or the next team come into power, they should be able to continue and not start from scratch. But that is what any good father or good mother would do, or parents. You want a foundation for your children and children. But I remember using an analogy on this program some years ago, and people who followed this program for a good while, you will recall when I did a program and I said the NNP operates Grenada like a big shop, right? They would, when they get into power, they would do a little thing or two, then they would grind the country and the people for the next 2-3 years. And then when it comes closer to the election, then they start doing stuff, spending and doing stuff. And if they sense that they're going to lose the election, then they're going to just spend everything out. And here what they would do, they would paint that shop, because they see Grenada like a big shop. They would paint the outside of the shop, and they would put some padlocks on the shop, and they would hand it over to the NDC, and they will tell people, well, you don't see how we hand in the country, or we give in the country to NDC, or we leave in the country. You don't see? So you, the person, only seeing the outside of the shop. It's painted, but when you go inside, they spoil the TV, they mash up the TV, they mash up the fridge, they mash up the counter, they credit all the goods, they wreck the place, right? So for you to start, it will be very difficult, but the outside of the shop looks good, and the people would start saying, well, look how they left the shop. It's nice, it's looking rosy. But when you open the shop to start off, to get off the ground, you just can't. Especially if they know that they're going to lose the election. And that is very, very important. So that statement that they met a pregnant Treasury and the NDC met a pregnant Treasury, it comes across as though they regret, the NNP regret leaving the country with some money. They cannot get over that, because historically, they're going to run the thing down. Historically, the NNP going to, go on a spending spree. They go do all kind of crazy stuff leading up to the election, closer to the election. But this time around, they were so overly confident that they're coming back into power. They left nearly, they left stuff there. They left money there, right? Because they thought they were coming back. They were so convinced that the Grenadian people going to put them back into power. And they had all 15 seats, and they were saying, even if we lose four seats or 3 seats, we're going to still be in power. That is exactly what they were saying. So they thought that they were coming back into power, and that money going to remain there, so they're going to continue to spend and do what they have to do. But the Grenadian people removed them. They did not put them back into power. So there is this regret, this bitterness, this angriness, right? This anger within the NNP. So every time you hear them speak about the NDC say they met a pregnant Treasury, it is not that they love the fact that there was money left, They angry, the NNP angry that they didn't get the chance to spend it out, to make it hard for the NDC once they get into power. So we have to understand the context in which they speak, When they speak, when they talk about the pregnant treasury and the NDC say they met a pregnant treasury, they are not happy that the NDC met money there. So I want to endorse what our beloved Prime Minister said. Because I am saying again, government is a continuum, but to continue, you need to have money there. You need to have a foundation set. But historically, the NNP will not lay a solid foundation for the next set of people who are coming in to govern smoothly and peacefully. This time around, God had it that way that they pile up the money there, and the NDC was able to come in and continue governing without any problems. So it's not that it's not that the NNP happy money was left in government coffers, the treasury and so on. No, they're not happy. In fact, they're upset because historically they would leave the treasury dry. Historically, they would just spend everything closer to the election if they believe that they were going to lose. They could just spend it all out. And that's the fact. So I want to put that on the table this morning. And I want to endorse what our beloved Prime Minister said. Because every time these people speak about a pregnant treasury and the NDC say they met a pregnant treasury there, they are not happy that money was left so that the NDC could come in, govern, and continue. That is why they're so bitter with the International Monetary Fund report on Grenada's economy and the economy doing well. They're angry. The NNP is angry with that report because the economy doing well. Grenada is, in a good position when it comes to the citizenship by investment program. When it comes to unemployment, that is on the downward trend. When it comes to economic growth, when it comes to opportunities and so on, Grenada is doing well. And it took the International Monetary Fund. They're not living here, but they came in as independent arbiters, as independent people and professionals, and they assessed the economy, and they concluded that Grenada's economy is in a good shape, right? The NNP vexed, the NNP angry. So they angry that they left some money there, right? And the NDC came in and they were able to continue governing. The NNP angry with that. They're also angry that the International Monetary Fund came in, assessed Grenada's economy, and said it's an A+. It's good. It's being managed properly. They're angry about that. Because they want Grenada to be on its knees. The NNP doesn't want good for Grenada. And you can map it out. You can track it. Their statements, their action, their inaction too. That is why at the Parliament, we didn't see the leader of Her Majesty's opposition when the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell was given his or was making his presentation on the budget for 2024, right? Friday. So NNP or Keith Mitchell was in the Parliament on Thursday. He responded to the Minister of Finance. So he gave his rebuttal. He spoke for hours. Our beloved Prime Minister remained there and listened as a gentleman should do. You don't run like a coward because your opponent or the person on the other side is speaking or presenting and you may not agree with everything that person is saying. You don't run. You don't abandon your responsibility. So he remained there. The ministers of government, they remained there and they listened to Keith Mitchell making his presentation. Keith Mitchell and his side, they made all kind of arguments, right? regarding Spaceman Mitchell and him, being buried on that particular day and the funeral and so on. All of a sudden, a funeral in Grenada, all of a sudden, is the biggest conversation for NNP. But when Spaceman Mitchell was alive, ask them if they actually went and see him, visited him, or assist him when he needed them the most. Ask them. Just go and ask them. Go and ask them. They're making it an issue. But ask the NNP, the senior folks within the NNP, did you go and visit Spaceman Mitchell when he needed you the most? But when he died, they play nice, right? And they want to make the funeral an issue. But here it is. So they decided they would debate, and the Prime Minister would respond the next day. Because Keith Mitchell and his team, they wanted to go to the funeral and so on. So they went. All right? And we saw what transpired in the funeral. The Prime Minister arrived. Everybody's supposed to stand up as respect protocol. You no longer Prime Minister. You're the leader of His Majesty's opposition. You're not Prime Minister. You're not the Prime Minister. But the disrespectful individual decided he will not stand. And on Friday, he refused to go in the Parliament to listen to the response of our beloved Prime Minister. Right? And that is the level of disrespect that we are seeing from Keith Mitchell and his team of troublemakers. And there are people who are condoning that kind of conduct. But I want to suggest to the Speaker of the House and to the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance, we have to start having those members of Parliament be accountable to their constituents, because they will be paid more. They will be paid $5,000. And he, the opposition leader, will be getting a little more, from what I understand. So, if he refuses to come to the sessions, or if he leaves earlier than he's supposed to, there should be deduction in the money that he actually receives at the end of the month. We have to start disciplining Keith. We have to start that process. You cannot have a person who would just walk out of Parliament, leave early, make his presentation, and just leave. Or he refuses to come and listen to the other side. What kind of example he is setting? And he says that he's the father of the Parliament and the grandpa of the Parliament, whatever he says. But look at the conduct of this individual. Look at it. And I'm questioning this individual's fitness. Right? Is it that he can't settle, can't remain in a seat for a particular period of time? Or is it that he has to go to the bathroom frequently? Or is it that he's afraid of those on the other side? What is his problem? But you know, those NNP pundits, surrogates, and mouthpiece, they cannot see nothing wrong with Keith Mitchell and his conduct. You reckon? You realize what's going down? They would call the Plead Your Cause program, because that's the program they really get the opportunity to see all kind of rubbish. And don't fool yourself. They don't represent the majority of people in Grenada, Carriacou and Petit Martinique, and those in the diaspora. Those who call every morning on the Plead Your Cause program, right? You have Mandu, that fat guy who used to be around Oliver Joseph. He calls pretty much every morning. You have the chatters on the street. He calls every morning. Anne-Marie Aban, she calls nearly every morning. Sometimes they would cut off, sometimes they would, every morning. Then Devon Romain, Panames, he will call every morning too. right? And it's just a small group, because they will be calling and talking about stuff on that Plead Your Cause program. But when it comes to NNP, members of parliament, they're not even talking about those things. They're not interested in what these people are saying here. I'm telling you. But it's just a small group calling every morning on that WFM program to talk the same rubbish over and over and over again. But they don't represent the broader population. Right? But I am saying all of this to say to you, you are not hearing them condemn the bad conduct of Keith Mitchell. They could see nothing wrong with his conduct. All they're fixated on is the NDC and the most honorable Deacon Mitchell and what he said. And that's all they're interested in. They are not interested in Grenada moving forward. You know. These people are troublemakers. The NNP is a bunch of troublemakers. They are not interested in Grenada moving forward, in Grenada developing, in Grenada growing, in Grenada transforming. You ever hear the NNP come publicly and acknowledge anything good that happened in the last 17, 18 months? Not once. Not once have they came publicly and acknowledged that the NDC did something good. The NNP, not once. And you have to start thinking, but wait, how could you be a responsible opposition? How could you like Grenada and not once acknowledge, right, that something good is happening in the country? Not once. Let me see something here. Good morning.
Yeah, Kevin Jones. Morning.
Hello.
Yeah.
All right.
We should.
Somebody seemed to be calling. I don't know. Right. But I am saying all of this because I want you to start questioning the NNP. Question their motive. Because if you love Grenada, you should want good for Grenada. You should acknowledge when something is good. Come on. They not once. Look at the amount of things that the NDC did in the last 17, 18 months. We never heard the NNP come forward and congratulate the NDC for having the vision to give 100% concession to people in the creative industry, because they were never considered before as a part of the economy and as a part of the developmental process, as a part of the governance structure, right, in Grenada. So the NDC had the vision, they had the foresight to say, let me see who's calling you. All right, somebody seems to be calling me consistently. Who's that person? Good morning.
Hello. Yeah, morning, Kevin Jones.
Hello.
Yeah, what I saying, I say they should dock his salary as he do to the teachers and them. When you don't come, don't pay him.
Well, I want to agree with you too, you know.
Yes, dock his salary. Yeah, pay him for the time he come. Let him feel for the teachers he feel in.
I fully agree.
And right before that Christmas so besides.
Nice. I fully agree too. I agree with that
Yeah.
notion by that caller. Exactly so. I agree full-heartedly. I agree totally, my brother. You can't have a person who say that he's the father of the parliament, right? He's been there for almost 40 years or so, and he's not showing up, right? Disrespectfully so. That's important, right? So I am saying here, not once have they come publicly and acknowledge the good things that the NDC is doing in the country. So I spoke about 100% concession given to the people in the creative industry. All right? NNP and come forward and acknowledge that. We saw also the pension and the gratuity being paid to public officers. The NNP have not come forward, not even once, to acknowledge that that's a good thing, right? And that Grenadians who are owed their money, their pension and their gratuity, they retired, and 5, 6, 7 years, they did not get 1 cent from the NNP administration. They got their money, and they're able to do things with it. Not once have they come forward and acknowledged that's a good thing, you know. Not one day. You looked at the doc salary, the caller just mentioned that. That was paid back to public officers. The money that the NNP took from their salary. Not once have they come forward and acknowledged that. The tax amnesty. Do you know how much people benefited from the tax amnesty? Where you owe government and there are penalties and arrears and so on that you amass, incurred, whatever you want to call it, right? And as a result, government could make you pay, or they could sell your property for that money. If you don't know, they have the power to do it. If you have to sell your property, you still have to pay. You still have to clear up that, right? And even if you sell, the first person to get paid from that is government, because they're going to take their money, because you're not going to get your documents. So people took advantage of that tax amnesty, which is a great thing, a good thing. They only paid the principal amount, right? And folks, if you under the live here, I beg your indulgence. Do not advertise or promote Parliament Start or another program. Let them do their own thing to get their listeners and their viewers. So don't come under the live, right? There are people who come under the live because they know that this live is popular, a lot of people viewing and following the program, and they would then advertise and promote other programs or other things. Don't come under the live to do that, right? Take it somewhere else. Let them do their work to bring their program or whatever up to mark, up to the standard that they want, because they have not been able to do that. A lot of the other programs, they're not able to get listeners like my program, all right? So I am saying, folks, the NNP, they continue to criticize the NDC, but they're not acknowledging any good thing. You look at the TAMCC workers who are protesting and, out there in the hot sun for their money, for their cash. The NDC came into power, and the NDC paid off that. The NDC didn't have to do it. They could have still had them out there protesting and fighting for their money. $22.5 million, paid them their money. The NNP would not come out and acknowledge that. Not once. If you love Grenada and you see good things, the free tuition policy, where you have students going to TAMCC and NULO, their parents didn't have to hold their head to get the cash, to get that $810 to send them to school. No, the government absorbed that cost, The government absorbed that cost. And the students, they're able to go to TAMCC, go to NULO, no headache. The NNP, not once did they come out and acknowledge that the NDC did something good. Not once. Come on. You had public officers, right? Normally, the unions and the public officers, they would be protesting in the streets, demonstrating for the increase in their salaries and so on. Demonstrating for that, Under the NDC, it was smooth sailing. They got 13% increase in their salary with all the fringe benefits and so on and so forth. No problem. But not once did the NNP come out publicly and acknowledge that. Not once. So how you could like Grenada, you love Grenada so much, and all these good things are happening, but all you dare to do is to just criticize. Come on. And you love Grenada, and you want good for Grenada. Something can't be right. Something cannot be right when all you do is just criticize government. Just criticize. But not once would you acknowledge something good happen. Not one day. Come on. And if you're reasonable as a Grenadian, you could be NNP, you could be NDC. But if you're reasonable, if you love your country, right, you would at least come out and acknowledge when something is good. If something is good, it's good. Come out and acknowledge it. Come out. The tax amnesty saw government collecting $23 million or more dollars. So government was able to collect $23 million from the tax amnesty that they gave the Grenadian people. But here it is. come 2024, if you know you owe government, they gave you tax amnesty, they gave you a whole year to come and make it straight with them. But come 2024, they will be applying pressure on the people who owe government taxes and refuse to pay. And then you would have problems. You would hear people complaining and grinding and groaning, but they gave you a whole year where you could go in and the penalties and so on, you're not going to pay that. You're going to just pay what you actually owe. You got an opportunity to do so. You're going to hear some people, business, ordinary people and so on, who owe government, and they got a whole year to do it, to come and settle up the finances and the money that they owe the government. They refuse to. And then when 2024, the government start, applying the pressure, you will hear some of these people. You will hear some of these people. But I am simply saying the NNP must understand our Grenadian people are smarter. No longer can they just be out there trying to fool our people. We are smarter as a people because we have the technology. We have access to it, information. So we are saying if you love Grenada, you will come forward openly and acknowledge the good things that are happening. We have no problem. In fact, I was speaking to some young people yesterday, and they said they have no problem whatsoever if you out there criticizing what's bad and you acknowledging what is good. So you're praising what's good. And if something is bad, or if you see something that you believe is bad for the country or the people, and you criticize that, there's a balance. Then people are going to have respect for you. But if every single thing you're criticizing, the government identify lands for a climate smart teaching hospital, you vex about that, you're criticizing that. Come on. Something has to be wrong with a party who is on that path. The government decides, well, look, we're going to give public officers 25% bonus come December. Well, towards the end of December. All right? That's a good thing. That's a good thing, people. Come on. That's a good thing. It's good for our people. But you vex about that too. We have to start thinking in a certain way now, right? We have to start thinking in a certain way to say, but you want to come back and govern Grenada. You want to run Grenada, right? You want to become prime minister again. You want to become ministers and so on again. But things that are good, you vex about it, you're angry about it. Huh? So all you could do is to just see bad things. All you could do is to just criticize. That's all you could do. You're not even putting forward recommendations. You're not putting forward suggestions. You're not putting forward nothing. No plans, no programs, no nothing whatsoever. But all you do is just criticize, criticize, criticize. Come on. There are things that are working, things that are good for our country. Increase in airlifts, for example. Do you know that people in the diaspora or people here in Grenada wanting to go out, to get out of the country and maybe go to, let's say, regional islands or so, or maybe United States, Canada, England, and so on, they would catch the hell. They were catching the hell to get in and out of Grenada. The NDC came and they were able to negotiate to get more airlines to Grenada. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's not bad. Why then are you angry that NDC is able to get more airlifts for Grenada? Why? I just don't understand the logic behind. I mean, yes, you're the opposition, but you have to oppose everything. You have to oppose everything. Something just not right. And we have to call it out. We have to say it as is. This place belongs to us. And we have to call out the opposition. They have to become more responsible as an opposition. You can't just, because you're opposition, to oppose. You have to become more responsible. And I am saying again, we need to call on the Speaker of the House to put some kind of thing in place where if you don't come to the Parliament, you should not be paid. You should not be given any money when the month ends, because you have a responsibility to taxpayers, because now you're getting more. Now you're getting more. You're getting more money. So you have to be more responsible. So you have to call on the Speaker of the House to put something in place. If you ain't go, then they start deducting from the money that you're supposed to get at the end of the month. Because many a times it's 5-6 times they would meet for the month in the Parliament. So they have to start to either put some kind of rule in place. If you fail to show up, or if you leave before your time, then money will be deducted. We need to start seeing something like that, right? And yes, we know you have all your millions and so on. So let's see that happening. Check out some every time. Check out some. Deduct some. We have to see something differently happening in our Parliament. Something ain't right. You could present, everybody has to stay and listen to you, but when the others are presenting, you're not there. You're not showing up. Come on. What is this? What is this? But they should stay and listen to you. And then when you present, you just pack your bag and you're gone. You're gone later. And everybody else should stay inside. I mean, what kind of example? What kind of example are you setting? The government is regularizing workers in the country. NNP vex. They're angry. In fact, they're now saying, well, the NNP say, the NDC say X, Y, and Z during the campaign. So they're not acknowledging that the regularization is taking place. They don't want to hear about that. They're so angry that it's happening that they're saying, well, during your campaign, you say you're going to regularize workers within X and Y time. Okay. All right. But they're being regularized. But why didn't the NNP regularize these workers? They're not saying that. They're not even entertaining any conversation where that is concerned. Where workers were given a contract or some letter, some temporary thing. That is what was happening under the NNP. You know? The NNP was not regularizing workers, making them permanent and so on. No. So they want to spin the conversation because they want to take the shine or the praise, right? The commendation from the NDC, because the NDC is brave and bold enough to regularize these workers, even if it's in a phased process. In fact, the IMF report praised the NDC administration for regularizing workers in that phased approach. Yep. But the NNP is so angry that they want to spin the thing to say, well, why didn't you regularize everybody at once? But NNP, you were there. NNP, you were in power and you did not regularize the workers. Same thing when it comes to the pension and the gratuity. The NNP was there and they did not pay the pension and the gratuity to these workers. And all the money that they're talking about, pregnant treasury, that money was there. You know? The money was there. Why didn't they pay the pension and the gratuity? And the money was there. Why didn't they regularize workers and the money was there? Why didn't they pay the TAMCC teachers and so on who were protesting and the money was there? Why? Because you see the NNP bad mind. They bad mind. And that is why you see what's happening now, you know. They have NNP fighting among themselves. They you know, it's Peter versus Keith versus Peter, and it's real bacchanal. They can't have a convention. They can't have nothing. They're in disarray. They have public meetings. You ain't seeing Peter. You ain't seeing that they have to come back and make an excuse. Well, Peter and this and Peter and that. That's how they're going. It's a TB party, the NNP. They're in turmoil. It's a wreck. And they cannot attract good people on their side to really do anything. They're not able to attract new people, the NNP. Look at the crop of people that they have on their side. Look at them. So Grenadians are wising up. Grenadians are understanding that Grenada was in dire need of a new team, right? New faces, new ideas. Grenada was in dire need of that. We don't want to reach to the stage where you have somebody there, like those African leaders. They in power 40-something years. You know, they have stick walking with. Some of them can't even use their tongue to speak because they reach so aged that they have speech impediment and speech issues. The tongue get heavy somewhat, but they're hanging on. They want to remain there. And what you find, if you don't have newness being roped in organizations, new people, new ideas, new faces coming in and turning things up, what you would find, the whole organization will fall apart. That is why you need new faces, new ideas from time to time, visionaries. You need leaders to come in, because remember, things are not staying one way. Things are constantly evolving and improving and, changing. So you have to also stick with the time, right? And move with the tide. You have to change too. You have to start transforming too. You can't stay one way. So you had an NNP. They've been in power for 20-something years, right? They did what they say they set out themselves to do and to achieve, right? And they had their time. Now you have a new team of men and women who are doing a marvelous job. They set themselves out with a plan. They say this is what we want to achieve, and they're going at it. Come on, give them a chance. Give them that opportunity to prove themselves. But no, the NNP is not interested in that. Criticize, attack, nonsense. Grenada depends on all of us. Grenada needs all of us to put our hands on the deck and work to build it, to transform it. You can't have a group here pulling so and a group on that side. No, you can't. It's problematic. And that is why you see the NNP, for example, how they're disintegrating and how they mashing up. Because you have a group, a Peter group pulling so, and you have a Kid group pulling so. Yeah, that's why they're in that kind of mess, And if the NNP is in such a disarray and so much a million bacchanal, how would they govern a country? How? If you can't unite, you can't pull together, you can't have a convention, you can't have some basic things, and you want to come back and rule Grenada, govern Grenada, and you're in that kind of state, and sometimes we have to reflect on that, Just look at the NNP and what's happening with the NNP. They're mashing up. There are real problems, and they want to come back and govern Grenada and run Grenada. You're joking. We have to start thinking differently, as I said earlier, and just observe for a moment what is happening. Good things are taking place in the country, but the NNP, they're hell-bent on creating chaos. They're troublemakers. They're obstructionists. They like the bacchanal. All they could do is to criticize. They're a part of the complaining industry. Only complain, criticize. That's all. No suggestion, no good recommendation, no nothing, no plans, no nothing. That's all they could do. While all these good things happening in the country for our people, come on. We have to call them out on it. We have to call them out on it and challenge them. Challenge them, man. We can't continue like this. Not because you're the opposition, everything, just criticize. Too many good things are happening in the country. They have to acknowledge the good things. Acknowledge it. But folks, we're almost out of time. I want to say to you, let's remain focused and start writing. Write stuff down. Write. When the good things are happening, write. Take notes. Because so many things are happening that after a while you're going to forget some of these things. Take notes. Write. Write down some of the good things you're seeing happening. And we're going to refresh your memory from time to time. Because we're doing a different type of PR. It's no longer hit and run. No. It's no longer that. The NNP wants that. Because they want, today for us to talk about some things. And then, next week, move to something else. And the other week, something else. And then you just start forgetting things. We have to refresh your memory. We have to start to talk about these things over and over again. Let it saturate your mind. So you have to start writing stuff down. The good things that are happening, write it down or document it. Because you can take your phone, there is an area for notes. You can use your phone, your iPad, your whatever, and record stuff. And it's there for a long time. We have to start documenting things. I remember I did a program making you call in and tell me some of the good things that happened that you can recall. And I remember people calling and say, look, this and that and this and that. We have to start doing that from time to time to refresh the memory of our people. Because the NNP want us to forget. They want you to believe that, they want you to believe nothing's happening and and the economy is this and everywhere. Things are tough everywhere around the world. Nothing is easy anymore. Nothing comes easy. And in fact, if it comes easy, it ain't good. It's tough all about all them countries in the region and all around the world. So the NNP want you to believe that, if you go to the groceries in another country, the goods will be way cheaper and way cheaper and way cheaper. But they're fooling themselves. Even in America and Canada and England and so on, the prices are going up. We don't produce these things. Every time they come, the price will reflect what it is. Don't believe we could do anything magical about it. Don't make them make you believe that. If we are producing it here, then we have control. We have control over it. Right? We could set prices and we could, but it's external, it's coming from outside. But they want you to believe that these things, it's cheaper elsewhere. It's not. It's not cheaper elsewhere. No. Don't make them make you believe that it's cheaper elsewhere and cost of living here is so bad and everywhere else is good and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, don't make them fool you. But folks, we're going to continue that conversation because I believe we need to set the record straight. Right? Every time the NNP talk about the NDC met a pregnant treasury, I explained that to you. It's not that they glad there was money there. No. The NNP wanted to clean the treasury, to lick it all out. Because the NNP is wanton, They're irresponsible. But they want to make it harder for those to come. It's like a bad father. Just, you have a lot of land, you have a house and so on, but you don't want to leave nothing for your children. You want them to catch their tail as you did, and you achieve what you achieve, but you want them to go through real hardship. It can't be that way. No. And if it's so weird thinking, then we're in problems. Generational wealth must be created. You have to create something better for your children and children. You have to make the way a little easier for your children and children. I'm not saying that you have to give them everything on a platter. I'm not saying that. But I'm simply telling you that we need to be able to organize the thing in such a way that those to come will have it easier. And I think that is what we're supposed to be fighting for, to make the thing better for those for those to come, or children and children and so on. That's what we need to be working on, right? So why should you be angry, bitter, vexed that you left some money there? So every time you open your mouth, they say they met a pregnant treasury. Okay. All right. So what's wrong with that? What was your responsibility in government for 20-something years? Huh? Come on. It's like you have a business and they want to run it aground, mash it up. Huh? No. You have to be responsible enough to lay a solid foundation for who to come, for the next generation, the next group of people. So don't beat up and be angry, and you're bitter, you're angry, you're sour that a little money was left back. And anytime they open their mouth about they left a pregnant treasury, we'll ask them all, what was the responsibility of government or your party or your team not to leave a solid foundation for the people to come? Huh? What is your responsibility? You're managing something, so you ought to bad manage it. Huh? It's not logical. Mismanage the economy. That's what you. So the NDC's responsibility. What is the NDC's responsibility? To manage the economy properly, to bring wealth to this country, to improve the lives, the living standard and condition of our people. That is why they have the many programs here. And when you hear NNP talk about poor and vulnerable, ask the NNP. Let's put up the NDC for the last 17 months. The things that they did to help the poor and the vulnerable people. And let's look at the NNP. And let's compare. We have to start comparing, you know. The NNP only talking about poor and vulnerable. Let's look at what the NDC did for the poor and the vulnerable. In fact, they call some of these people the walking poor now. Let's look at it. What they did in the last 17 months for these people. And let's look at the NNP. Let's compare it. And then you want to see who really and truly wants to improve the living standard and condition of the poor and the vulnerable. Then you will see that. Take some time. But folks, I want to thank you very much for being a part of the program this morning. I'll be back with you tonight. We have so many things to talk about, to highlight, right? The positive things that are happening in the country. We need to start highlighting it and talking about it some more. Some more. And that is why I suggested to the NDC, do a one-pager, right, of the good things coming out of the budget for our people. Because our people are not able to read that 620 pages, this whole document. So do a one-page or 2 pages, point by point, in a very simple way, about some of the things that will come 2024 out of the budget. Because remember, the budget is really a glimpse of what's to come, right? The revenue that they expect to collect and the expenses that they expect to incur over that 1-year period. So the projects, the programs, the many initiatives and so on that they intend to undertake for 2024. And, you know, how much it will cost the government and some of the revenue generating programs and so on. Some of the areas that they intend to make some money for the economy. So it's so important. You know, just a little one-pager. So when people look at it from a glance, they would see, well, this would happen, that would happen, this would happen, that would happen over the 1-year period. And then we can go back to it and say, well, look, these are some of the things that they accomplished, that they achieved over that period. It doesn't have to be all this bulky stuff, in a very simple format. And that will be good for our people. All right? I'll continue that conversation because we have so many things to talk about tonight from 8 in the p.m. until 9, between 8 and 9. Remember, it's 2 programs, the morning program from 8 to 9 a.m. and the nightly program from 8 to 9 p.m. All right? Take good care. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much for sharing the program. Thank you very much for commenting. I will open up the line sometime, maybe tonight or maybe another night or another morning, to give people the opportunity to vent, to talk and so on, because we are not going to take a break. Normally around this time, we would just take a break and so on. No, we're not going to do that, because the NNP, they are not taking a break. They're continuing with the misinformation. They're continuing with the disinformation because they want to fool our people. So we have to be on the counters in some cases. You know, we have to be responding in some cases. And in some instances, we have to be proactive, right? Doing things even before they come out and say X and say Y. So we have our job cut out for us. We have to continue doing what we are doing. We can't just give up. We can't just go to sleep believing that the NNP would not, believing that the NNP is going to stop the misinformation and the disinformation and the lies, right? No, they will continue, because that's who they are. The NNP, they're troublemakers. They're troublemakers. They don't want Grenada to prosper and to transform. They're obstructionists. They're disruptors. They don't want you to be prosperous and to be better off. They want you to be in a worse off position. That is why they're underminers. That's who they are. They're undermining. They're seeking to have anarchy and chaos in the country. They're haters of progress and opportunity. That is who they are. We have to call them out on it. They're destabilizers, right? Troublemakers. Call them out. So, folks, I want to wish you all the best. Take good care, and bye for now.